This episode is brought to you by ElevateOS, the only all-in-one community operating system. ElevateOS transforms property management, combining resident engagement, reservations, rent payments, maintenance, and concierge services into a single super app. It also uniquely integrates access control, intercoms, package lockers, and thermostats, eliminating app fatigue and redefining modern apartment living. Visit elevateos.com/MMN for a free demo and see how they can help you level up your operations. All right, I saved the last two thereby characteristics or illustrations of individuals who are creating fatigue in our organizations. People who just exhaust you. They suck all the energy out of you and the organization by extension. The last two, this episode, we're going to talk about entitlement. In the last episode, we're going to talk about victimism or victims. And look, these might be controversial topics, and I hope that I do both of them justice, because this entire series has not been about attacking individuals. The entire series is designed to highlight behaviors in individuals that need to be eradicated from your organizations if you expect to have an organization that's going to move with any kind of speed, with any kind of excellence in creating outcomes for your company. You need to teach, train, coach, and mentor those behaviors out of the organization in order to thrive. But let's talk about entitlement. My gut tells me that every single one of you who are listening and or watching knows somebody. You can bring him to mind. You can bring him to mind right now. In fact, bring him to mind. Bring that person to mind that you believe to be entitled. They think they're entitled. In case you don't know what that is, just the rare chance you don't know what that is, it's people who have unrealistic expectations of you as a leader and a manager, or unrealistic expectations of the organization as it relates to serving them and their needs. They just think that the rules don't apply to them. We talked about being on time the other day in one of these episodes. Those people just don't care. The rules don't apply to me. And you either like it or you don't, but I'm going to keep on working here. I'm going to make your life a living, you know what? They complain a lot about everything. There is a real serious lack of gratitude from people who are entitled. It's never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. It's always the system's fault. It's always someone else's fault. It's never on them. They're very, very manipulative. They will go out of their way to manipulate a circumstance to benefit them. Definitely defensive about everything. Defense goes up. Doesn't matter. If you critique them in any way, shape, or form, defenses are going up. That particular individual in your organization is a poison. They are an absolute poison, and I make no bones about it. That particular behavior in your organization needs to go right out the door. No questions asked. There is no room for entitlement in organizations. Organizations are designed to benefit the masses, and it's done so by being in service of others. So if you have somebody that expects everyone and everything to be in service of them and their behaviors, it's not going to work. That is a complete misalignment. You're out of alignment, and you will consistently and constantly be fighting against that. And it's very tiring. It's very tiring to try to manage and lead somebody like that. They won't change. Trust me. I've worked with individuals like that, and I've made every attempt in the world to morph them, to mold their behavior into something that I think is better for an organization. Not happening. Not happening. The contrast of that, right? If you juxtaposition that, you have a person who is just in service of. They have a heart of service. They show up to serve others. They're showing up to do whatever is necessary to help the larger whole. They're not there thinking about themselves. They're there thinking about how they can be a beneficial presence to others, whether it be a support role, whether it be to provide a word of inspiration or a word of encouragement, or to help draw out or create motivation, to draw out motivation in others. That's a very different person. They don't expect pats on the back. They don't blame others. They take responsibility. They take ownership. They exercise their agency. They don't manipulate others. The great game of business is not a game. It's a place where a bunch of people show up and they rally around a clear vision and they go about executing that, versus the person who feels entitled and just thinks that that whole operation is set up to serve them and they're not going to follow the rules. In fact, they will laugh in the face of the person who tries to employ any sort of structure around them. It's kind of like a God complex. This entitlement thing is kind of like a God complex. And it's a poison. It is an absolute poison in your organization. That behavior is poison. Run away from it, meaning get that person out of your organization as fast as you possibly can. There's no way to fix it, in my opinion. Take care. We'll talk to you again soon.